Hey guys, it's Martine. Here on Post Reports, we've got something special for you this holiday season, a show about joy. The episode comes to us from another Washington Post podcast called Try This. Try This is a series of short audio courses. It's hosted by my colleague, Christina Quinn. And let me tell you, as someone who gets to work with Christina, she is joy personified. She's hilarious, someone you want to spend time with and learn with. Christina loves life hacks, and she loves helping people learn how to improve their lives. And that brings us back to cultivating joy, the subject of the latest Try This course. On this first episode of the course, Christina talks to an actual happiness scientist about defining exactly what makes us happy and how much of our joy is within our control. And after you listen, be sure to follow Try This in your podcast app. All right, here we go.
Hey, welcome to Try This from the Washington Post. Try This is a series of audio courses to help you take on common challenges and learn something new without having to make a big time commitment. I'm Christina Quinn, and I'll be learning with you as we embark on a quest for joy. Yepers, that's what we're doing in this course. 'Tis the season of joy. But with that expectation, we can feel stressed and weighed down with obligation. And that can distract us from actual joy. So, here on Try This, we're going to learn how to cultivate joy whenever and wherever you are in life. Here's how this will work. Each Try This course has anywhere from 2 to 5 classes, or in other words, 2 to 5 episodes. In this course, we'll have 3 classes that focus on how to identify what brings you joy, how to make it again and again, and finally, how to spread it around. Okay, class is in session. Let's try this. The things that bring any one person joy and happiness seem pretty arbitrary, right? Something that could spark joy for me may be a major snooze fest for you. For example, I love watching marching band videos on YouTube. But it turns out that the arbitrary nature of happiness doesn't preclude it from being a science. In this first class, we're going to really understand what makes us happy. I asked a happiness scientist to break it down for us.
Happiness in life is generally feeling good, feeling satisfied with your life, and feeling like you matter. So that's how I think about happiness. My name is Emiliana Simon Thomas, and I'm the science director at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center.
There isn't really a scientific consensus about how to define happiness versus joy. But at UC Berkeley, Emiliana and her team view happiness as an overall characteristic of life, rather than a bunch of positive feelings that we chase. Joy, meanwhile, can be a momentary experience or a lasting one. Emiliana gets into the nuance.
In my view, happy as a term is a catch-all for lots of different really interesting and important positive states or emotional experiences that people might have. So you might be feeling pride. You might be feeling enthusiasm. You might be feeling amusement, right? You might be feeling affection. And it's actually really valuable to be more granular about those specific emotional states that you might be bucketing into this word happy.
And there are a number of ways to measure an overall sense of happiness. But the most reliable one her team uses are self-report surveys.
So somebody might say, hey, answer these questions.
Questions like, some people are very happy in life and some people are not so happy in life. How would you characterize yourself on a scale of very unhappy to very happy?
And from those questions, we'll calculate a score, and that will be what we use to determine or assess an individual's happiness.
It's called the Subjective Happiness Scale, which has been used in many studies around the world. And in Emiliana's decades of research, she's found that there are 3 factors that contribute to a person's overall happiness. And some of those factors matter more than others.
There is some genetic predisposition that configures a person's nervous system such that perhaps they just biologically produce more dopamine, or they have more dopamine receptors, or their serotonin pathways are more kind of routinely active or involved. And that's kind of what you're working with.
Dopamine and serotonin are known as the happy hormones. They're neurotransmitters that help regulate mood and emotions. And Emiliana says that genetic factors shape about half of how a person experiences positive emotions and stressful situations. But the rest is influenced by lots of non-genetic factors, including context.
Is it where you live? Is it how much money you have? Is it whether you're married or have children? Any number of things that we often think of, right? When we think, oh, well, I'll be happy if only I have X, Y, Z, or if I only check off these goals on my checklist. Yeah, context is part of the explanation why one person tends to report greater happiness in life than another person. But it's actually a really small proportion. It's usually around 10%. So this leaves roughly 40% that has to do with day-to-day behaviors, priorities, exercises, and activities. A lot of people walk the world thinking that happiness is out of their control, that it's their, biological endowment, it's their personality, and that's just the lot they have to live with.
But nope, you have a lot more control than you may think. We'll explain after the break. Over the course of her research, Emiliana has found that there are three main areas that influence how happy people are.
One is this aptitude for experiencing positive emotions. Two is a sense of connection and belonging in a community or in a social context. And three is a capacity to overcome, manage, and learn and grow from life's inevitable difficult moments. Experiences where we feel angry or sad or afraid or any number of other quintessentially unpleasant emotions.
Interesting. Okay, so when you say aptitude, what do you mean?
So when I say aptitude for experiencing a positive emotion in any given context, I'm thinking of your threshold and availability for taking in what is potentially good in any given moment. So you could imagine waiting in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles. And a lot of people might take that moment and be like annoyed or agitated or frustrated or somehow inconvenienced. But that's an arbitrary choice at some level, right? And there's a way to see that moment that could actually feel amusing or lighthearted or inspiring or uplifting in some way or another. And so when I say aptitude, I'm really thinking about that capacity to find the goodness in a given moment, usually when things are going well, but also in those mundane or ordinary moments.
So in other words, the silver lining, being able to find the silver lining?
Yeah, although silver lining is often about something that's decidedly unpleasant. I would argue that there are lots of ambiguous moments in our daily lives where we could be experiencing some kind of orientation to goodness in our life, whether it's a feeling of gratefulness, whether it's a feeling of pride, whether it's a feeling of affection that comes from reflecting on something that is going well, even when there's nothing terrible.
Emiliana calls it prioritizing positivity. Another practice is focusing on gratitude. I must say that the Department of Motor Vehicles is great for people watching, for which I am grateful.
Acknowledging the ways that forces outside of your own effort and your own behaviors are sources of goodness in your life. The science of awe, right? Being in the presence of something that challenges your ordinary expectations and understanding of the world kind of gives you that tingling feeling of possibility and uplift. These are things that people can can bring into their daily life that make it more likely that they're going to experience those positive moments.
The second pillar of happiness is fostering connection.
And that is really investing in our interpersonal relationships with close others and with just humans writ large, a sense of common humanity. What can we do to really find more similarity with others, engage with others in experiences that are shared and collaborative and rewarding?
And making meaningful connections isn't just about fostering friendship. It also means being able to get through the hard stuff and reconcile conflict. Okay, so far we have an aptitude for prioritizing positivity and fostering connections. The third pillar, resilience. And that includes an awareness of your own mental habits.
And oftentimes this is referred to as mindfulness or contemplation or meditation. These are these exercises where we become observers of what's happening in our own mind so that we can notice if we have a habit of negativity bias or hypervigilance or excessive rumination or cynicism about other people.
So we need to be aware of what our mental habits are and whether they're helping or hurting us. Another example of resilience, Emiliana says, is asking for help. It seems a little counterintuitive since so many of us have been taught to be tough and to suppress unpleasant emotions, but
turns out it is not healthy to tamp down and sequester our difficulties, our life difficulties and unpleasant emotions into some little corner of our minds and hope that they will disappear. And if another human sees you shedding tears, they have a very strong urge to approach you and console. That's very evolved, core human motivation to support one another. So for many, the exercise of seeking support, asking for help, is a powerful tool of resilience.
Okay, quick recap. There are 3 factors that play a role in a person's overall happiness. Genetics makes up to about 50%. A modest 10% is context, as in, if I have a certain lifestyle, I'll be happy. That means a honking 40% all comes down to our day-to-day actions. So we really do have agency when it comes to creating our overall happiness. Huzzah! And according to Emiliana Simon-Thomas and the good folks at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center, you can achieve that with the 3 pillars of happiness, which include prioritizing positivity, fostering and strengthening connections with people around you, and lastly, practicing resilience, like being able to come out of the other end of a storm with some perspective. That's it for our first class. Up next, in our second class on cultivating joy, we're going to learn how to make some joy with the help of Washington Post contributor Stephen Petro. If you are listening when this is newly released, you can hear episode 2 on Thursday, December 19th, and the third and final class on Monday, December 23rd. But you can hear the remaining 2 classes right now and ad-free with a subscription to the Post. If you already have one, great! Just look for the Washington Post channel in Apple Podcasts, and you can link up your subscription there, and you're good to go. If you don't yet have a subscription, you can subscribe to the Washington Post through the link in our show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll meet you in class 2.